The real problem, and the only problem, is that there is no problem. And mind cannot accept that what is. Mind is the greatest servant. It is a problem. It raises the problem. It reveals the problem. And it overcomes the problem. Your problem is that you think you're mind. When you think you are mind, which has totally conveyed a message to itself that it is your body. Okay, so if you think you're mind, and mind thinks that it's your body, you must, through mind, think that you are the body. But who is the one that thinks, you see? Mind. Mind is convincing itself that it is the body, it has to create the problem, it has to do everything, and it is the ongoing churning out one that reveals things. And it is. For one particular purpose. The problem for the mind is that it has to raise problems with the purpose of realizing to itself that there's no problem. There actually is no problem. Mind appears to be the problem to the suffering, but you only take that personally because you think that you are totally this mind and this body. So therefore the problem is yours. Now there are two appearing in this video. The mind that speaks and the one that can be convinced that it can allow this mind to pretend to be this whole existence. And the other one is the one that cannot intervene. Truth. So you are listening with a mind that you think you are, with a body that you think you are, and this thingless thing that is simply not getting anything about this world as it seems to be explained, understood. This is why the God that we believe exists has to be corrupt. God is not corrupt, the totality is not corrupt, but the God that we think through this biblical book that we think exists is corrupt. Because this God appears to be able to communicate, speak, and offer rules, commandments, regulations, narratives, stories through us all to convey its wishes. Well, God is beyond speech. You are beyond speech. Everything is beyond emotional, sensory activity. But this idea that there is a God separate from you is the greatest problem. It is the greatest problem. You see, I call God, this suspect God. It is the greatest problem. I am separate. Is separate from God. The greatest problem. We don't fear death. We only fear what is going to come next, because if we've not been a good boy or a good girl, as this Bible, this fake God has offered a way of true being, is not met, then we have failed. So what will God do with me when I die? No God now. And this word God is only something that is ingrained in this person, this body, this mind, through its upbringing. In your world, in your way, it can be called Brahman, absolute, grace, consciousness, Krishna, Shiva, Vishnu. This God can be an Upanishad, a Vedanta, a Buddhist monk. Every saint that this speaker looks at, that pops up in YouTube, sees in its eyes, yeah, it's the same God. You cannot differentiate between a problem and no problem. A saint from any culture, any background, any human, any animal, any piece of nature, you cannot differentiate. Problem and no problem don't exist, because mind has left the premises. But it leaves an inquisitive mind to explain or help or try and entice mind to face up to the idea that there is no problem, and that the problem creates war. The problem creates this idea of peace. The problem is that we think we are different. And when we accept there is no problem, we see everything as the same. With the same eyes as Brahman, Absolute, Vishnu, Shiva, Papaji, Ramana. I remember being a human. I remember being a person, and I still am. But there is a forgetfulness of the idea that there was problems. So if you are experiencing problems or suffering, you're still in the threshold of mind. And this mind is portraying and releasing problems to what you apparently think is you, so that it can overcome itself and face up to the biggest fear that there's no problem. And while all of this is going on, every day the world appears to have problems. And every day the world appears to be trying to resolve them. And every day mind is active, always scurrying, seeking for the answer, always wanting to discover peace. All of this goes on. And yet, while all of this goes on, truth remains undisturbed, witnessing, no problem. Love the mind, value the mind, worship the mind, but only the mind that comes forward and says there's no problem. Every other mind that says there's a problem, ignore. Be a sage. Mind is leading you to truth. It cannot lead you anywhere because you're already that. Pure mind is saying, no problem, wake up to problems. Wake up to problems. Wake up to everything outside of that, what is. Surrender to mind, and mind will take you home. It's guaranteed. It is guaranteed. Worship yourself, not your mind. It's going to look after you anyway. Worship yourself as much as you worship Christ, Shiva, Lao Tzu. You're the same. I am pretty sure that these were Christ's words, misinterpreted. Buddha's words, misinterpreted. Something in this world of problems creates a false way of getting out of the untrue problems by saying you can reach, attain, and become something like Christ and Buddha, but you can't because you're not good enough. And the minute you say, I'm not good enough to become equal to Krishna, Shiva, Christ, Buddha, Ramana, you blasphemize that what is. There is only you in this world. No other. There is only you. And whilst you are here, realize not your potential, who you are not. And what lies beyond. If you think you're going to meet God, Brahman, if you think you're going to meet Christ, Shiva, Buddha, if you think you're going to go up to them and bow and beg forgiveness, it's not going to happen. Because the minute you think that means you're separate and insignificant, and that you have to do something to walk out of this problem and become a higher self. The minute you know you are truth, There's no problem. All becomes one whole. Non-problematic, pure, undiminishing, infinite, limitless love. That I am. Namaste.